Hey guys, today I wanted to make a video for the newbies out there. Let's talk about Airsoft for beginners. Every now and then, I get the odd comment on my videos of someone asking about gun or gear recommendations, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's many people out there with similar thoughts, wondering where to even begin or what things to consider when jumping into the world of Airsoft. This video is for you guys. I'm going to go over all the things that I believe are important for a newcomer to Airsoft, whether it be that you've played a few games as a renter and want to get more serious, or if you're someone who has never set foot on an airsoft field and are wondering what things to consider for your first time. I'm going to start off by giving tips to those who have never played airsoft before and want to know some tidbits before getting out there on the field. If you're not this type of person, feel free to jump ahead to this time of the video. Alright, so if you're new to Airsoft and plan on playing for the first time soon, you should be getting a safety speech at the beginning of the day, so I'm not going to bother going over that with you here. What I am going to tell you, however, are the answers to the two most common questions every newbie has going into Airsoft. How much does it hurt, and what should I wear? To answer the first question, let me tell you that in my mid-teens, I played paintball religiously. Hands down, the impact of a paintball hurts way more than a BB, and it leaves a much nastier welt, especially if the paintball bounces off your skin and doesn't actually explode. A BB feels like a hard finger flick onto your skin, and the sting only lasts as long as the flick took to make. If you're playing safely, the worst places to get hit with a BB are the sides of your torso, your hands or fingers, your neck, and the top of your head. If you get hit in one of those places, the sting or discomfort shouldn't last longer than 5 seconds. Oh, and there's always the slim chance you take one straight to the wiener if you're a guy. I've only seen that happen once, and I'm the one who did the shooting. Sorry.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Target locked.
No, no, Dewey. No.
Are you good, buddy?
Alright, so when it comes down to what actually to wear, the number one thing I can recommend is gloves. Padded gloves, wool gloves, gardening gloves, whatever you got. If your fingers are sore from getting lit up after the first game, which does suck, it's going to give you a sour first impression of Airsoft, and that's not a good thing. Since you're renting, you're going to be given a full face mask, probably a paintball mask, so I would suggest also bringing a hat or a toque, a beanie if you speak American, just to protect the top of your head. I remember getting shot on the top of my head back when I played paintball. I bent down for something and I got shot right at the top of my skull. It's super rare, but can happen and might leave you dizzy for a moment. Any type of hat will help you a lot. Aside from that, running or hiking shoes are a must. I'd wear something you can actually see yourself moving quickly in, as well as something you're okay getting a little dirty. Don't forget to throw on a long sleeve or hoodie if you're skinny like me, and go out there and have fun. You'll learn the rest once you're out on the field. Okay, so let's say you've got a few games under your belt. You're really enjoying Airsoft and want to buy your own loadout and stop spending money on rental gear. You're ready for that next step. I'm going to share with you my personal opinion on what's most important, whether it be gear for your safety or what kind of guns you should be looking at, as well as a few other things, but this is going to be the meat and potatoes of this video. Let's talk about face protection, because before I even dropped a single cent on my first gun, I made sure to buy everything I needed to protect my face first. For eye protection, you have a choice between ballistic goggles or shooting glasses. Personally, I'd recommend goggles 9 out of 10 times, simply because there should be zero chance a BB somehow flies under goggles and into your eye, rendering you blind, possibly. I have a problem with shooting glasses as an alternative. I know plenty of people that wear them and don't have an issue whatsoever, but it is just my personal belief. They're technically safe, but I don't trust them. Almost all types of shooting glasses will leave a gap of some sort between your eyes and the glasses themselves. If you take a shot to the face and a BB bounces off your face and then off the inside of your lens, it could then bounce directly into your eye at a decent speed and still do damage. I don't trust it. It's ultimately your choice, but regardless, purchase reliable eyewear and check that off your list first. Personally, I use the Desert Locust ballistic goggles, so try not to cheap out on eye pro and your chances of fogging up as well will not be as high. With eye pro out of the way, let's talk about protecting your next most important thing, your teeth. So this rule changes depending on where you play, but at my field, you do not need to wear a mesh mask or lower face protection of any sort. Most people do wear mesh at my field regardless, which is great. Let me just say, if you've never chipped a tooth before, and I mean deep enough to where the root is exposed, that shit sucks. So much. I took a rock to the mouth when I was in grade 2, and I still remember how much pain I was in when half my front tooth was missing. A BB will do similar damage to an adult tooth. So do yourself a favor, wear a mesh mask or something. Anything that'll be in between a BB and your mouth. My face is fully protected out there, and it's my favorite place to get shot, simply because I won't feel a damn smidgen of pain. Furthermore, I hate shooting people in the face when they aren't protecting their teeth out there. The problem is, the face and gun are usually the first thing you see in a fight. So if you aren't going to fully protect your face out there, you're putting yourself at risk of a serious injury. Yes, I'll feel bad for ruining your perfect smile, but it's 100% your fault.
Oh, I really didn't want to shoot that guy in the head. His face was exposed in between two spools, and it's like, ooh, ugh. I just don't feel good about it.
In terms of headgear, that's mostly it that's necessary. You could get a tactical helmet. Most airsofters wear one. It'll protect your noggin from BBs and usually makes you look more legit out there if that's what you're going for. A tactical helmet can go anywhere from $30 to hundreds of dollars. If you're thinking about going the extra mile for head protection, you could go ahead and protect your ears. In my first ever airsoft video, I actually did take a BB straight to the ear and it did draw blood. It doesn't feel good.
7, 6.
Ooh, that must have hurt, buddy.
Oh!
Hit, medic!
Jesus Christ.
Oh. Oh.
Ever since then, I've had these little guys attached to the sides of my helmet via an attachment I got off Amazon. I drilled holes smaller than the size of a BB in the earmuffs so I could hear almost just as well as if I weren't wearing them at all. Soundproofing would have been a terrible disadvantage out there on the field. It's not something you want to do to yourself. With headgear out of the way, let's talk about BDUs or tactical clothing in general. This is all going to depend on what type of look you're going for, so to make it simple, you can look like an operator or a PMC, which can appear to be more of a civilianized appearance. Let me just say I've never bought BDUs or the quote-unquote airsoft tactical clothing you find on airsoft websites, which tend to be a little on the expensive side. I'm literally wearing a dress shirt I found at H&M. H&M, a store for hipsters, okay? The shirt I'm wearing for airsoft is honestly $20-25 bucks, and yet it's tough enough for stuff like thorns, diving, and crawling. That being said, a simple BDU or something in your style of color that is meant for airsoft is perfectly fine. Most people are fine with that. I'm just kind of picky. I've also discovered a newfound love for motorcycle pants. I'm literally wearing the most breathable pair of jeans I've ever worn. It's sturdy enough to fall off a motorcycle at least once and stretchy so I can bend up and down into many shooting positions. Speaking of which, motorcycle pants also come with built-in knee pads, just like most dedicated airsoft pants. They're definitely a solid alternative for tactical pants when you're looking to stay away from that camouflaged operator look. That being said, if you are going for the standard operator look, I would highly suggest you find yourself a pair of tactical pants with built-in knee pads. I see people out there without knee pads, and I don't know how they do it. The last thing you want to do is quickly kneel down onto a rock or hard surface with the bone of your knee. Knee pads built into airsoft pants are pretty standard, so they won't be that hard to find. Either buy yourself a pair of those, or buy separate knee pads that go on top of your pants. However, this second option is less favorable because knee pads separated from pants tend to slip down onto your shin when running around. I've never had any luck using them myself. Now, I don't really want to recommend specific brands of clothing, simply because we all come in many shapes and sizes, so you're better off looking at reviews yourself and determining your own opinion on clothing options. Shoes are all personal preference here. I don't wear combat boots. Some airsofters get the boots for the look. Some do it for the practicality. I wear hiking shoes that are basically runners. I'd say it's best to put ankle support high on your priority list for shoes. Your thought process is probably going to be dependent on what look you're going for. I went for the more PMC, punky, stand-outish style, which means camo is definitely a no-go for me, unless I incorporate it somehow in the future. And in case you're wondering about the bullets on my helmet, I did take inspiration from Borg, a paintball YouTuber who sadly took his own life during the time I was really into paintball as a teenager. So I proudly wear those bullets in his memory. With the clothing portion out of the way, let's move on to the vests, belts, pouches, stuff like that. So everyone has their own preference here, but most people will wear a vest or rig of some sort to hold their mags and the like. I think the main question here is plate carrier or no plate carrier? And if you've ever wondered, the guys who are wearing the plate carriers out there, 9 out of 10 times they are just wearing a dummy plate, which is just like either cardboard or almost like yoga mat foam that you can kind of slip in just to give the proper shape to the plate carrier. They're not actually putting metal in their vests. If they are, that's crazy and hardcore, and good luck doing that in the heat of summer, okay? I'd say plate carriers will look the most legit if that's your goal, but they tend to be the most uncomfortable due to their lack of flexibility. That is just my opinion though, I could be wrong. If you just want something to protect your chest and hold your mags, a light vest with molly space is all you need. Find something you can easily adjust to your body shape. I currently wear a vest with no back slot, so I wear a light backpack in combination with my vest for front and back protection while maintaining the most mobility possible. Personally, mobility is more important to me for airsoft. I'd suggest you find a vest that looks cool, hugs your body the way you want it to, and doesn't handicap your ability to move quickly. I'd say the last thing you want is a vest that bounces up and down when you're running around all over the place. If you're thinking about buying a dump pouch for empty mags, that's all preference once again. I don't use a dump pouch. Some people think it's absolutely necessary when they're just getting into airsoft. I actually thought that. It's really not. For me, it's actually more of an inconvenience, but for others, it's a necessity. Personally, I just put my empty mags back onto my vest from left to right, and I don't feel like I'm losing any precious seconds during game time. Gear is definitely all personal preference. I cannot stress that enough. You could buy a med kit, radio pouch, a scissors holder, Skittles pouch, you name it. At the end of the day, it just depends on how much money you want to spend and how much space you have available. And sometimes it's just about style. Battle belts are also a great option if you're not into vests. Battle belts have molly space and can definitely store all the mags you need out on the field. They also tend to be more affordable than vests, but this sort of thing comes down to personal taste. Some people rock both and they just carry a bunch of stuff. More power to them. Even though I'm not recommending specific brands of vests or belts, the idea is to get you thinking about your options. So let's talk about guns. Now, what I'm going to suggest is debatable, which is perfectly fine. I'm expecting this to be highly debatable. Every airsoft gun brand has affordable options for the most part, and it would probably take me hours to go in depth with every brand. I really don't feel like doing that sort of research, so I'm going to suggest to you some of the more accessible, affordable, and upgradable brands to you so your first gun has the potential to be a long-term investment. Also, don't even think about going HPA for your first gun. Okay? That'll destroy your wallet and you don't want to regret any financial decisions a year later. I also don't recommend getting a sniper as your first gun. Again, possibly debatable. I have seen people rock the sniper for their first gun and they're really happy, so more power to them. But a good sniper out of the box is usually very expensive, and unless your field is massive like mine, you might find yourself less involved in the action compared to other players out there. So, in no particular order, you have my top 3 beginner brands for your standard Airsoft AEG. You got G&G, Aries, and SEMA. There are many other brands, so don't be shy and look around all the different brands available. You might find something affordable that looks cool, which is totally understandable. What I suggest is go visit your favorite airsoft gear website or store and look at what each brand of manufacturer has to offer. Once you find a gun you like, try and find a review of that gun on YouTube before you spend your money. The reason I suggested G&G, Aries, and SEMA is because both G&G and Aries have affordable M4 platforms. G&G especially, since they have many different M4s with many different unique styles. The reason I suggest an M4 platform in general for your first gun is simply because parts and magazines for M4s are literally everywhere. M4s are typically easier to take apart and understand, and it's the most common airsoft platform. So your options are sort of boundless. Your choice in weapon is also going to depend on what type of field or place you play airsoft at. Is it outdoors? How big is the field? If you're playing indoors, I'd suggest a gun that's designed for CQB. Something smaller, something closer to your body with a shorter barrel, like a G&G ARP. You can definitely buy any AEG for any type of field, indoors or outdoors. If your FPS is too high or too low, just buy a weaker or stronger spring. Swap the old one out and you're good to go. As far as I know, SEMA loves their Russian weapons. SEMA makes sturdy and affordable AK platforms, so I would highly suggest buying from them if your loyalty is with the Red Army. Pistols may or may not be recommended depending on your field. Normally they aren't necessary, but a good first pistol isn't bad to pick up along the way, if you can afford it. I'd recommend a green gas powered pistol. I personally have switched to CO2 just because the weather treats CO2 much better, but the FPS on CO2 pistols can be a little high. I'd suggest doing some research and know your field FPS limits. CO2 definitely is more reliable and powerful in most weather conditions. Green gas is definitely easier to use, gas up, and forget about at the end of the day. There's also more green gas options out there compared to CO2. So I just blabbed about gear and guns for God knows how long, but there's still something else I've yet to talk about if you're thinking about getting more serious into airsoft. And that's what type of player you want to become. First and foremost, a strong airsoft community within your local field is key. Me and everyone else are all excited to see you join in on the fun and become a permanent part of our community. You finally took the training wheels off and you're ready to rock your own gear out there. My biggest advice is that you respect one another, play fair, don't get upset over the little things. Did someone just shoot you while you had your hand up, clearly already dead? It happens, man. Everyone's got adrenaline pumping through their veins out there. Nobody's actually trying to mess with you. And if they are, it'll catch up with them one way or another. Play fairly. Try not to spawn camp. Tell your teammates not to spawn camp. Try and plan out your attack with all the strangers on your team. Learn some names. Shake some hands if you want. Give advice and take as much advice as you possibly can out there. If you're new to Airsoft, you probably know nothing. And that's not a bad thing. Every moment out there is going to be a learning experience. For the love of God, play safe as well. Listen to the refs and set an example for the people newer than you. Airsoft is super fun. 95% of all the people at my field seem to be really nerdy or goofy in some way. We're really all just a bunch of grown-up little kids playing with toy guns. There's really nothing quite like Airsoft. Hopefully my advice made some sense. I didn't really want to be specific on what exact things you should buy like some videos tend to do, but I hope I put you on the right track and got your mind thinking about how you might want to handle your early days as an airsofter. Well, that about wraps things up. please feel free to comment below with any advice for newcomers or questions you might have if you are a newcomer. Until next time, guys, best of luck out there.